So merry meet everyone and welcome to this class, How to Do Shadow Work. This is a witch's roadmap for inner healing. So I'm Aislinn. I am a high priestess of the Covenant of Midnight's Flame, also the founder of the Midnight tradition of Wicca. I am also the founder of Body Mind Witchcraft, which helps witches and empaths and those who other spiritually minded people kind of connect to themselves, to the divine, to the universe outside of them as well, through shadow work, energy work, and the craft. So this class today is about how to do shadow work. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot by people, they will come to me and they say, I want to do shadow work, but I don't know where to start. And I hear this a lot. And I actually hear this even from people who have been doing shadow work already, or from people, even people in our own membership where we're dedicating our space and our time to doing shadow work. Sometimes people just still don't know where to start. So I started thinking about that, and I thought about my own practice and how I created my own practice and how it works for me. And I have this kind of step-by-step formula, different things that I do every month. And that is what I'm going to share with you tonight. So not only are you going to learn about what shadow work is and why it's important, but you're also going to learn literally how to do it. So if you were to implement these steps starting today, you would be on your way on your shadow work journey and hopefully start to see some progress, because with some of what we're going to talk about tonight, some of the effects, might be a little bit more long term, but some of them you'll be able to begin to see changes right away. One other thing I wanted to mention before I begin is that the steps that I am outlining here, this process that I created, this is my own personal practice. When I was in grad school, I have a master's degree in counseling psychology with a specialization in neuropsychology. And when I was in grad school, I started dabbling in shadow work, though I didn't, at that young age, I didn't really implement much of it. I continued to dabble with it for a while, but eventually I had a very large trauma in my life, which I'll tell you some about later. And that is sort of what forced me onto the path of healing, because sometimes it's like either we try to heal or we like succumb to what's going on with us, inside of us. And I chose to kind of lift myself off the floor and do something about it. And that is when I kind of created these steps that I implemented in my own life. And I'm also a 500-hour yoga teacher, and I specialize in meditation and breath work and Kundalini. So it's a little bit about me, and let's begin. So I wanted to start with what shadow work is, because I know some of you have been on the path for a while, and others, this may be the first time hearing about it. Maybe there's been an inkling that you want to learn about it. I always feel that when something comes into our sort of awareness. So sometimes people will come to me and they'll say a certain goddess's name is sort of whispered to them, or they hear it in their dreams, or they see synchronicities around it. And it often means that that goddess is kind of tapping you on the shoulder. There's some work to be done. I believe the same thing occurs when ideas come to us. Like if you've started to see a lot about shadow work, or think about shadow work, or hear about shadow work, it's probably because it's entering your kind of sphere. It's a suggestion from the universe that this is a pathway that might be good for you. But what is shadow work? So I wanted to say, what is shadow work versus what isn't shadow work? So the shadow is the parts of ourselves that we have learned to hide, to push away, to reject, or to silence. And inside the shadow, there are a lot of things. So there could be, and it doesn't have to mean that all of these things are inside your shadow, but your shadow could contain wounds that you have inherited. So this could be wounds that you inherited from like generational transmission. It could be wounds that you inherit before birth, or things that happen to you after birth just by growing up around certain people in your immediate family. There may be patterns that we repeat without wanting to. So if you have ever said, I don't know why I do this, and then insert in the blank, insert whatever that thing is, that is often something that is in the shadow. It's something that you can address by doing shadow work, especially if there are patterns you don't want to continue repeating. Emotional responses that arise unconsciously and might feel bigger than the situation. So sometimes, like, we're in a situation and this emotional response comes up and it feels really intense and it actually feels a lot bigger than what just happened. That usually means that there's something deeper in the shadow. It goes back further than just that. So an example I gave recently in one of my classes was that there was a parent. As I said, I'm an educational therapist and I do a lot of one-on-one work. And there was a parent that was texting me, and just really like I was just getting really angry by what she was saying, and it was really, my blood was really boiling over this, and but it was much bigger than the situation itself. So this indicated to me that there was some kind of unconscious thing going on that maybe I could get to the bottom of with my shadow work. Beliefs that limit us even though we may intellectually know better. So you have all these limiting beliefs, and intellectually you may know that they're not serving you. You may know it's best to figure out what's going on and get rid of them, but you just really don't know how. But the thing is about the shadow, it's important to remember that the shadow isn't just about all the bad stuff or the perceived bad stuff. It's also there's some good stuff in it too. This is where some of your gifts are, especially those that you have never fully realized. So things that you may have tried to do in the past, but sort of maybe gave up on, especially in childhood. Maybe hobbies, crafts, activities that you used to do but you didn't get as far as you would like. All of these gifts also exist in our shadow. So the shadow also has some great creative potential. Now, during shadow work, we explore all of these parts, all of these hidden parts of ourselves. So we try to figure out what is going on. We try to bring the unconscious out into the conscious. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention, though, sorry, is what shadow work is not. So shadow work is not evil and it is not negative. So actually, sometimes people will write to me and they will say, well, isn't this like evil to do this, or isn't this bad to do this, or will this cause problems? And while it's true that sometimes when we're dredging up things from the past or we're going into the unconscious, sometimes it will bring more things up that may make us feel down at the time. It is not something that is negative. It's certainly not something that is evil, and it isn't just dark witchcraft. So sometimes people will find our groups and they will think that it's about doing dark magic, hexing, different things like that. And it is not about that, and there's no judgment on that. This is not what this class is about, though. The class is about working with our unconscious to try to liberate ourselves of some of that and then free up space so that we have more space for our intuition, more space to grow in our spirituality, more space to grow in our gifts. The shadow is simply the integrated parts of the self, the parts that you are, but that you don't fully recognize or accept as you. Shadow work isn't about punishing yourself for being a certain way, or it's also not about fixing what's wrong. So it's not about like, oh, there's so much wrong with you and we need to get in and fix it all. It's not about that, and it's not about punishment. It's about bringing those parts out into the light with compassion and without judgment so they can be healed and they can be transformed. So I just kind of wanted to start off with, what is shadow work? What isn't it? And so we're all coming from the same place when we start to move forward into the steps. So once you kind of realize it, well, what would we do if we decided we wanted to do shadow work? Now, why does shadow work matter? So I believe shadow work matters. I've literally built a business around it. Within our membership, at this point I have helped over 100 people in shadow work with energy work. And that probably, you could probably double that if we included, and probably triple or quadruple that if we included all the people that didn't join our membership but still benefited from some of the free things that I teach. I think at this point I have a free guide called The Witch's Guide to Shadow Work, and I just was looking last night. It's been downloaded like 5,000 times. So it's a lot of people. So I believe this is important, right? Important enough to spend all of my time helping people with this. I believe that when you truly commit to shadow work, I think when you can make it a regular part of your life and not something you're just dabbling in, you can expect some significant benefits. But it is like everything when it comes to witchcraft as well. You can dabble in it, and you will like make some changes in your life. You probably won't get as far as you could if you make it a more regular part of your life. Same goes with shadow work and energy work. But if you do make this a regular part of your life, you will notice one of the first things people start to notice is that your emotional triggers start to lose their charge. Or when they do, when you are triggered, when you are kind of rubbed the wrong way, your blood starts to boil, things like that, you can come down from it a lot easier because you have more insight and you're not just being swayed by these emotions. Your confidence increases because you're not hiding parts of yourself anymore. Once it's kind of out in the open, a light has been shined on the shadow. Your confidence will increase because you're not hiding. Old patterns that you have engaged in your entire life start to dissolve. Your intuition will become clearer. To me, this was the added benefit of shadow work, and really why I decided to make a business around this is that when I started doing my own shadow work to heal this great trauma that I had, I went into it to heal the trauma, but I came out of it feeling more spiritually aligned, closer to my deities. My intuition really accelerated and expanded and opened, and I wasn't doing anything but the shadow work and the energy work, which is the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this class. So there are these added benefits, and what I believe is that when we remove the blockages, we stop spending all this unconscious energy trying to like ward off all of this stuff we don't we want to pretend isn't us. All of a sudden you have all this new energy, and that energy can then be directed towards something bigger and more important, like your spiritual growth. Your boundaries will strengthen. So if you're somebody who has trouble setting boundaries or holding your boundaries, your shadow work will help you be able to be stronger in that. Your relationships will feel healthier. You will feel more connected to spirit. That's certainly something that I recognized. You move through the world feeling that you're in control rather than feeling like you are reacting, which is a big thing. Just when you're kind of moving through the world and it's just like waiting for the next thing to hit you, and then all that you can do is just react to that, and then try to figure out what to do next. When you have done your shadow work and you have done, and by the way too, you don't have to be perfect at this, you just have to be doing it regularly. When you're doing the regular shadow work, you will feel like you will have more control and you're not just swayed side to side and reacting over everything that's coming your way. Shadow work does take time. It would be like foolish for us to pretend that this is a quick fix. And I know in today's world, we want quick fixes. We want to take that pill and lose 20 pounds. We want to do this and magically have everything change. But most of the things that are most important in our spiritual growth do take time. Shadow work is no exception, but it really is worth it because of how life-changing it is. Carl Jung, who is the godfather, who I would call the godfather of shadow work, he says that, the shadow contains its weight in gold. It's because it's like alchemy. It's what is it's what's inside of you that when it's worked through, it becomes so magical. So, speaking of Carl Jung, I always like to bring in this quote when I am teaching any class on shadow or in my big workshops on shadow work. Unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So, kind of piggybacking off of some of the other things I've said tonight so far, that stuff can remain in your unconscious, and it will often feel like things are being done to you. You'll get blindsided by things. You won't really fully understand where they're coming from or what they mean. But when you start to bring this stuff out into the conscious and bring it out of the unconscious into the conscious, all of a sudden you now are directing your life instead of your unconscious directing your life. And that is like, to me, that's the gold of shadow work. So let us dive in. So this is the step-by-step roadmap for how to do shadow work. So I'm going to give you 7 steps with 2 optional ones, so 9 total. I believe that if a person were to implement all of this starting today, and most of this is not that hard to do, I do believe that a person would start to see very significant changes in their life. Even if you don't implement all of this, instead maybe you just choose a couple of the steps and you do those, you are still going to see big changes. Each of these things is really designed to change your life. So like I mentioned, this is the roadmap, the exact roadmap that I use. I do all of this every single cycle, and we'll be talking about like why the cycles are important, how to best align your work to certain parts of the cycle. If that is, I do think that's important. And if that's important to you, you can also do that. I also wanted to mention here is that as I was making this, I've made this class over the last couple of nights, and I have decided that I'm turning this whole thing, this class is like about an hour or so, I'm going to be turning this into a mini course that everyone in my Shadow Seekers membership is going to receive. I think it's a way to keep people on track and help them progress. And for those of you who are not in our Shadow Seekers membership, we will talk about it at the end in case it's something you will be interested in. We have a really great offer for Black Friday that's worth waiting till the end of the workshop to hear if you're not a member. I also plan to sell this mini course probably in the future. Even for those who don't join Shadow Seekers. But just want to let you know this is going to be I'm going to be expanding this into something much bigger. All right, so let us dive in. So the first step I think, to anything in a magical practice is to set an intention. And I think that shadow work is no different. And I think this very first step can be the place where people kind of go off track because they don't really set an intention. And then they start to flounder in their work because they're not sure where to go and it's too much. So it's kind of like with witchcraft, when people come to me and they're brand new at witchcraft and they want to learn stuff, sometimes people will come and they want to learn everything and they get so overwhelmed by herbs and stones and deities and elements and casting circles and rituals, and they come and they're talking like that and they're just so overwhelmed. And I always say, to stop for a moment and ask yourself what you're doing here. Because what drew you to the craft can be the first place for a new witch to kind of figure out what step to take next, rather than to take 100 steps. You can't take 100 steps at once. You can take one step at a time. So the same goes with shadow work. You may be coming here with like a ton of stuff that you want to heal, but we can't heal all of it at once. And if you try to heal all of it at once, or if you enter with sort of like a general idea, I just want to heal, you may kind of go off track very quickly because you get overwhelmed and you don't know where to go. So what I suggest is that people set an intention just like you would in a ritual, a spell, or a magical working. What is this about? Your intentions will help you choose a thread rather than getting tangled up in the whole tapestry of healing. Shadow work without an intention can feel chaotic and overwhelming. So you may want to heal some mother wound stuff. You may want to do some inner child work. You may want to heal some stuff from like an old boyfriend or girlfriend. You may want to heal stuff from a job experience, stuff about school. The list can go on and on and on and on. All of the different things that we probably want to heal and probably need to heal, but we can't do it all at once. And if I've learned anything from being an educational therapist with students who have a bunch of learning differences, the best way to keep them on track is if we go one step at a time. So what are we here for today? Intentions should be simple and clear, and they can also change and evolve over time. So your intention doesn't lock you into anything. So just remember this kind of golden rule. You do not have to heal or do everything all at once. And if you don't really if you can't internalize that, I am giving you permission to like say, I don't have to heal or do it all at once. I need to pick one thing and move forward with that. Whoops, sorry about that. So on the next slide, we are going to talk about how, like, what could an intention look like? So here's some examples, and maybe these will resonate with you, but or maybe as we're going through these, you will start to think about things in your life and how you could create an intention around what you want to heal in your shadow work. So somebody who's afraid of being seen could make an intention, I want to heal my fear of being seen. And now all of a sudden we have an anchor and we have a direction because we have an intention, right? I want to stop people pleasing. I want to break a generational pattern around anger or around depression or around hiding, or, you know, who knows? You can insert any word there that you think is a generational, something that's been generationally transmitted to you. I want to reconnect with my intuition. Sometimes people feel like completely lost and disconnected from that part of themselves. Or they may be people who, like many of us, have these spiritual gifts that we've had since we were young, but because we're raised around people who don't necessarily support those gifts or even sometimes downright try to get rid of them, we disconnect from this part of us. So sometimes people want to reconnect and come home to that. I want to stop putting myself last. I want to understand why I, and then insert any trait, characteristic, or habit that seems to be causing you problems. So while you may have many things that you would like to heal within yourself, I may be reading this list and you're like, yeah, like every single one, and maybe even more. But you're likely to be more successful if you can focus on one intention at a time. So what I recommend you do here is, just take a moment, maybe even close your eyes, put your hand on your heart or on your solar plexus or whatever part of your body is your center, and just really ask yourself, like the center of your soul, what is the thing I need to heal most right now? And then just let that thing come to the surface. Don't question it. Don't second guess it. And let that be your intention for this next cycle. So at the moment, as we are recording this, it's like about first quarter moon. So we're, a fourth of the way into a cycle. You can start an intention now, or you can wait till the next new moon to set one. It's totally up to you. But let that, or a cycle to you also could be like a season. So, we're in Samhain season, about to move to Yule season. So it could be for Yule season, this is the thing I'm going to heal. But the important thing is that we set an intention and we decide that that is the direction we're going, at least for right now. Okay. And if you're live, and if there's anything, any questions you have, if anything doesn't make sense, just put a question in the chat or comment. Let us know, what you feel about setting an intention, and let us know what your intention is if you have one. What are you wanting to heal in the next cycle, whatever that means to you? You can feel free to change your intention or to adapt it as you travel further down your path. Likely more will come up. You might even start adding it to a list of intentions. But the important thing is that you're setting one intention and drawing that out and making it be the one for right now. Okay, so that is the first step. I feel that this right here will help so many people who are floundering in the work, who finds it overwhelming. So especially if a person finds the work overwhelming, this can be a way out of the overwhelm. Okay, step 2. Create a daily spiritual practice. So a regular spiritual practice will help you stay grounded and connected when you are doing this sometimes difficult work. So I would be lying if I said that shadow work was easy, because it is not. It is something that I believe that anybody can do it, but it is work that can be difficult, not difficult in what you have to do necessarily, but difficult in the emotional toll it can sometimes take on you. It can feel like you're going deep down into the darkness before you come out. And when people don't have something to anchor them, that can get really hard. So I believe that the daily spiritual practice is the thing. Besides that and your intention, those are the two things that really help to anchor you. People tend to be less successful when they only show up for the hard work. So if you only show up to do the shadow work, you will have success. but you may not be as successful as if you have something going on in the background at all times, which is your spiritual practice, your daily or almost daily spiritual practice. Um, the other analogy I could draw on here is like a witch who just shows up to do the big difficult spells or rituals is going to be less successful usually than somebody who has some kind of a daily practice and they're working with energy and they are connecting. Your daily or almost daily practice becomes your anchor, something that you can rely on and you can depend on. And I do say almost daily because as an educational therapist, I know that the way to help people is we don't want to set up rules that people can't achieve. So if you say, I'm going to do a daily practice and then you don't do it, you do like 6 or 5 days or something like that, then you feel like you failed. But if you, or even if you don't feel that unconsciously, there could be an unconscious part of you that does. If you instead set up a almost daily practice, you will be successful if you show up almost every day. And almost every day is just as good as every day. Sometimes people get tripped up over thinking that this has to be long and involved, so they never set it up because they're like, well, I don't, first of all, they may not know how to do it or what to do, or they think for some reason it has to be like an hour or 2 hours or even a half an hour, and it's space that they don't really have. And you don't need that much time to see a lot of success here. So the length of the practice is not what's important, it's the consistency that matters. So some examples of a daily practice could include lighting a candle with intention, and you can also do some candle gazing while you're at it. I like this practice, especially for the times when I feel like I can't do anything else, when I'm working like, 16-hour days or something like that, and there's not much space for much else. I can always light a candle with intention, and I'm doing something. And if I do that every day, I'm staying anchored, I'm staying connected every single day. You could pull a tarot or an oracle card and journal about it for a few minutes. You could do a 3 to 5 minute grounding visualization, like the grounding tree meditation, for example, just imagining roots grounding down into the earth. You could do a short breath work practice, which a little bit later we're going to talk about. There's another step that's about moving energy, and we'll talk a little bit more about breath work. I'm going to show you 2 breaths you could do if you've never done breath work before. It's easy, it's something you can do, and it has huge, huge benefits. Same goes with the Kundalini energy exercises. If you've never heard of Kundalini before, I highly recommend, I'll be giving you an exercise a little bit later. I recommend trying it. It's really game changing. The people in our Shadow Seekers membership who come to the Kundalini classes we do or watch them back in replay will tell you this is a big game changer. It not only does it give you energy, a lot of energy if you don't have any, it also is just burning stuck and stagnant energy. It's freeing space in your body. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but it's something quick and easy that could be part of a daily spiritual practice. Spend some time doing intuitive movement, just, turning on music, closing your eyes, and letting your body move. And your body will move in the ways that it wants to when you sort of take the critic away, take judgment away, take all of that away. And this can be make a really big difference. Do mantra or Zen counting meditation or any form of meditation. Mantra meditation is very easy. This is where we anchor into a mantra. So like, for example, I'll talk a little bit later about seed sounds, but let's say we want to do some grounding. The seed sound, which is basically a syllable that calls in a certain energy, the seed sound for the root chakra is lum. And so a person could just meditate on the word lum, and you just basically repeat it in your head, and you do that for a few minutes, and that would be a huge practice for someone. Even though it's very simple and on the surface doesn't feel like we're doing much, we're doing a lot. Mantra meditation also is incredible for people who they feel like they get really distracted in traditional meditation because you have this word that you have to focus on. Your mind can, it can help rein in your mind from wandering. Same with counting meditation is where you just count up to 10 and back down to 10. But any form of meditation could be part of a daily practice. Stream of consciousness writing or morning pages. So stream of consciousness writing is where we just write what comes to us. Morning pages is when you do it in the morning. This is a technique that's taught by Julia Cameron in her book, The Artist Way. We had some people implement this in our Shadow Seekers membership, and they said it was pretty profound changes they were seeing. So you essentially wake up in the morning, you just write, basically before you get out of bed, before you barely opened your eyes, you don't get coffee yet or anything, you just write for like a page or two. Just stream of consciousness. If you don't know what to write, you just write, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. You just write that for like 2 minutes. Eventually, stuff starts coming out, and it's also a big bolster for your creativity. So these are just some examples of some practices that you could try. Tiny practices like this will stabilize your nervous system. It keeps your energy field more open. So when you go in to do that deeper shadow work, you're already coming from a more centered space. And this, I think, is going to help people, be more successful in the shadow work that they are doing. So Melanie says that she does candle gazing with music, dancing every day. So like intuitive movement to music. She said, but can we stop for a day when we feel extremely overwhelmed and go back to it the next day? So yes, absolutely. And so again, that's why I say an almost daily practice. You see, if we think that we have to do it every day, then we feel like, oh my God, did I mess it up because I missed that day or 2 days? Or maybe you get sick and you can't do it for a week. That's okay too. The important thing is that we are, we're doing it regularly. Okay, we're doing it when we can, and honestly, the benefits of you doing it, they build up over time. If you take a couple of days off because you're overwhelmed or have no energy, that's totally fine. This is why I always like, you can stack these practices too. So, I tell people like 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes at a minimum. But if you want to stack the practices, you'll make a bigger practice. And what I do is, if at the very least, light just the candle. You don't have to do the candle gazing or any of the other stuff. Just light the candle. So there's like one anchor happening that's very simple. And then this other more, complicated stuff can be done on the days you have more energy. Amy said, should it be the same thing or can we mix it up? You can totally mix it up or you can do the same thing. It's totally up to you. And I have plans to make a kind of mini course in the future where we go through and I'm going to create videos of like all of this stuff, and you can stack it, you can change it, you could set an intention like to do one practice for 1 week and a different practice the next week, or every single day could be a different practice. But yeah, there's no right or wrong to this. The importance is like you're showing up every day to do a little something spiritual. That's the consistency. And then Andrea said, I love the morning pages. And I was thinking of you when I was saying that, because I've seen you post in the groups how much you love the morning pages. Yeah, they really are. I love them too. It's not always easy. I'm not a morning person. So like having to do something like this when I first wake up isn't easy. But it can be a big, if you never tried it, try it. Especially if you're somebody who is creative or ever feels creatively blocked, the morning pages can get you unstuck. All right, so the people who commit to this part, even if it's only for 5 minutes on most days, will tend to see the biggest breakthroughs in their shadow work. So some of these people are like, well, what does this have to do with shadow work? What this has to do with it is you're setting the groundwork so that you don't get overwhelmed in your shadow work, because we want you to be successful in your shadow work. So I believe that the daily spiritual practice is an important part of that. Okay, so here is the shadow work part now. So we're going to choose 1 day per lunar cycle to do some deeper shadow work. Now that doesn't mean that this will be the only day you ever do shadow work of the cycle, but you're at least going to commit to 1 day during the cycle. And then you don't have to worry about when you're doing it. Like sometimes people are like, I don't know when to do it. I haven't done it in a while. I don't know how to do it. You just schedule this 1 day like you would schedule anything else, and you commit to the 1 day. Oftentimes you will need to prompt your deeper shadow work, especially when you are first starting out. But even today, like having done this for years, I will still prompt my shadow work. Now, a little bit later, I'm going to talk about what happens, what do we call like a spontaneous shadow work. It tends to come out of the foundations we're laying right now. So when you do scheduled shadow work once a month and you start doing this practice kind of stuff regularly, you will see that the shadow work just becomes like an integrated part of your life. Like just yesterday, I was standing in front of the bathroom mirror, and all of a sudden this thing kind of hit me, and I realized, wow, I just did shadow work just standing there. And I'll explain a little bit more later about what a spontaneous shadow work session looks like. But for now, this is how we would schedule it in. So I recommend scheduling this in for the waning moon, in particular the waning crescent, the balsamic, or the dark. For those who don't know, the waning moon is the half of the cycle after the full moon to the new. The balsamic moon is the last 3 days of the cycle, and the dark moon is the last day of the cycle. You can find it by finding the new moon on a calendar and counting back 24 hours. That's the beginning of the dark moon. Now, that being said, you can do shadow work whenever you want. If you prefer to do it on the full moon, that's great. If you prefer to do it on a Friday or a Tuesday or something like that, that is great too. There's nothing right or wrong about this, but it just feels like there are certain times of the cycle that are a little more aligned to the internal work than others. And so that's why I recommend this. But again, don't kind of miss me here. You can do it any time that you want. So energy during the waning, I'll just explain why I think this is a good time though. Energy during the waning half of the cycle tends to be more aligned for turning inward. This is because the veils thin slightly when we are on the waning half of any cycle. This includes the veils between your conscious and your unconscious. So when we hear veils thin, we think about ghosts and Samhain and ancestors and spirits. But the veils also thin between your unconscious and your conscious, which means that it's easier for stuff to come out of the unconscious into the conscious. Fall and winter also tend to be more aligned for this inner work. It's just people tend to like turn inward during the fall and the winter. So good news for you if you're watching this now at live or like soon. I mean, we're in the end of the fall and we're moving into the winter. This is the perfect time. So what would we do though? So once we kind of know, like, you pick your day for the cycle that you're going to do it, and then you have to pick something that you're going to do. So here's some work that you could do during your main monthly shadow work session. So you could do shadow journaling. Now this can be free form or this can be using shadow work prompts. And on the next slide, I'm going to give you like 7 prompts that you can use. And they're not the only prompts there are, but I picked 7 good ones, and you can also think of others yourself. So in shadow journaling and shadow contemplation, both of these have kind of a similar process to them. One, though, we're writing, and one we are thinking. The idea here is that we, with the freeform writing, we're kind of reflecting on issues that are coming up. So like, remember the intention that you set in step 1. You kind of journal freeform on that. Like, where does this, like, let's say your intention was about setting better boundaries, for example. Like, you could journal on who in your life sets good boundaries, who in your life doesn't set good boundaries. What were you taught about boundaries when you were little? What about your mom and her boundaries, and your dad and his boundaries? So there's a lot of different things that we could journal on free form, or we could use a prompt that would probably ask us a more directed question about boundaries. Now, in contemplation, I think this is a good option for people who don't like to write. Not everybody likes to journal, and when they hear the word journal, it just like shuts them down. They don't want to do it. So shadow contemplation is where we do kind of a similar thing, but instead of writing, we think about it. You tend to want to get into a relaxed or meditative state. I say like lie down and get really relaxed and just kind of reflect on the issues and see what arises. The other thing you can do is walk. I like to walk. I don't listen to music during this time or talk to people or have any agendas on that walk. The walk is meant to be a shadow walk, and I do the contemplation while I'm walking. And then you see what comes up. And so you don't forget what comes up, you can then record it into your phone, into the voice memos, and you may go back and listen to it later, or you may not. But the important thing is that we are, we're doing something that's helping to bring some of this out of the unconscious. Another thing that you can do is letter writing. So if you want like kind of more directed writing than the free form or the prompts, Well, prompts are pretty directed, but another directed writing is writing letters to people that you have unresolved issues with. You do not have to send the letters, you just write them. Or you can write letters to shadow aspects. So, dear fear, why are you here? What do you want from me? And you just listen, and you just really have to let go, though, in these sessions, and allow what's going to come through to come through. Now, not everybody likes to do the writing. So here's like another kind of reflection idea. So you could stand in front of a mirror and you can have a dialogue with your shadow. Tell yourself what you're really thinking and focus on letting go of judgment, because our judgment will often shut us down, and we don't want to be shut down during any of this. So you can look in the mirror and just talk to yourself, and it can be hard at times. Sometimes we don't want to look at ourselves, and that itself can be a challenge. So again, you may not resonate with all of these. The hope is that you'll resonate with one or more, and then that would be your plan for the next time that you're going to schedule in your one day to do your deeper shadow work. Another thing you can do is trigger work. So thinking about situations, interactions, people, etc., that upset you, or make your blood boil, like is what I always say. One of the things that makes my blood boil is people who, like, if I'm driving my car and I'm making a right turn, and let's say there's a pedestrian walking in the crosswalk, and the person behind me is like laying on the horn and getting all angry, and I'm waiting for this person to walk. That makes my blood boil, right? So there can be simple little triggers like that, and then there can be much more intense triggers that come back, they go back far, far, far into much deeper places. But all of these are triggers. So we can do some trigger work around, like, why does my blood boil when someone's honking at me because I'm trying to let someone walk in the crosswalk? That could be my session for 1 month. Release your judgment or your need to be right, because sometimes when it comes to the triggers too, like, let's say a person in your life has triggered you by saying something mean, and we want to we want to be the right ones. So when it comes to shadow work, we don't want to, like, we're not shifting the blame back to us, but it's really less about the person. It's more about what it's doing internally to us. So what is really at the heart of the issue, and can it be traced back to something else in the past? It doesn't always go back to childhood. It might go back a few years or 10 years or something like that. But we're just trying to reflect on the triggers and figure out if we can see where they come from. We can also do shadow drawing or sculpting. So if you are not into the writing or the thinking part, you could draw, or you could sculpt, or you could craft something to represent your shadow. And just, again, like, just with the writing and the thinking, you try to really be open and receptive, and just let yourself be guided into what to create, and then later reflect on what you created and what does it tell you about your shadow. So the step here, this is what you're doing once. You're not doing this every day. This isn't your practice that you're doing every day. This is what you're doing once a month in your deeper cyclical shadow work. Now, if you want some direction with some prompts can be used for shadow journaling, for contemplation, but you can also use them. Sometimes people like to use them for tarot and oracle card pulls. So let's say you don't want to write and you don't want to think, but you could use the prompts and you could pull some cards and see what comes up. And that can be your shadow work session for the month. So here's just some sample prompts you could use. Which emotions do I suppress or avoid the most? What patterns keep repeating in my life or in my relationships? What part of myself do I judge the harshest? In what situations do I find myself overreacting? Who do I feel envious of? And what is the true root of that feeling? What is the earliest memory I have of feeling shame? You could insert any word here: guilt, powerlessness. So whatever your intention was for your shadow work, maybe there's a feeling that comes up around it. And what's your earliest memory of feeling that feeling? Where do I self-sabotage my own happiness or success? So these are just a few prompts, 6 different ones, I guess, 7 different ones. And that could be 7 cycles of shadow work right there. But if none of these really resonate with you, then I encourage you to just Google shadow work prompts, and you can even put like shadow work prompts around inner child healing or like mother wound, whatever your intention is, and just see what comes up. And I suggest just picking one that resonates and go with that. So this is your kind of main shadow work for the cycle, and you would be doing this once per month. I'm just going back to the chat here. So Samantha said, best at the dark moon when we are in the shadow of the moon. Yeah, see, I feel like I'm very much tied to the lunar cycles as well, which is why I feel like the shadow work much more aligns to the dark moon. But sometimes people feel like different cycles. So we never want to I never want to confine them to a cycle, but I agree with Samantha. Like for me, the shadow of the moon is it's a great time to explore our own shadows. Andrea said, you posting the shadow work prompts really helps with this. So in our shadow work membership, we have a shadow work prompt once a week that I post in our shadow seekers Facebook group. And then if people want to use that, they can. But it helps. It can really help a lot. And then Angela says same, except it's her dad complaining. Yeah, so like when you kind of hone in on that trigger, then that immediately becomes like a place that you can explore in your shadow work. Okay, so next up, step 4. So I'm just watching the time. I tend to teach a lot, so I'm only halfway through my steps. So the first 4 are the longest ones. So you can follow up your main shadow work with a releasing ritual. I highly recommend doing this. So the regular cyclical shadow work sessions will likely bring up a lot of emotions for you. These emotions may also be connected to stuck and stagnant energy in your body. So if you follow up your regular shadow work with a regular releasing ritual, you're able to purge yourself of the negative energy emotions that do not serve you or serve your continued work. So I think where like many shadow work programs or people who teach shadow work, I think where they fail, they don't go far enough with it, is they just teach people to do the shadow work and then that's it. I think you need to do the shadow work, and then I think you need to release something too, because we have more than one body. We have a physical body, which you can all see. We have an energetic body. We have a mental body. We have an emotional body. Now, your shadow work is going on in your mental and your emotional body, but there's stuff that gets stuck in your energetic body. And we can release a bunch of that stuff in the mental and the emotional body by working through the main shadow work and doing those practices. But then we leave all this stuff stuck in the body. And then we wonder why we're not progressing. And it's because we left the energy stuck in the body. So if we release, and in the next step, we're going to learn about energy work. If we do both of these 2 things, then we are likely to avoid that problem. And we free ourselves not only of the emotional and the mental stuff, but also of the energetic stuff. Your releasing ritual can be super simple, like the person here just release negative energy. You can just write down on a piece of paper what you want to release and burn it. It can be very simple, or it can be as elaborate as you want. I recommend doing this every cycle around the dark moon, but you can also release at other times. To me, releasing is aligned with the darkness of the dark moon. It mirrors the fertility cycle of females, right, which release blood at the dark moon and the new moon, or at least that's the part of the cycle that it's aligned to. But if you feel like releasing is done at a different part of the cycle, I think the most important thing is to listen to your own intuition and do practices when they feel right to you. Now let me give you a couple of examples of some releasing rituals that you could do. So my personal favorite, write down what you want to release and burn it. I usually take a piece of paper and I write as fast as I can, stream of consciousness, all the things I want to release that cycle. And sometimes it's all the same stuff, and sometimes it changes subtly over time, or new things will be added, or old things will be gone because they've been released. And I just write as much as I can that I want to let go of, and then I burn it. If you don't want to do burning, you can write down what you release and place it in water so the words dissolve. It's best to use pencil or non-permanent ink, mostly because if you were to use like Sharpie, it doesn't actually dissolve. And that's, to me, the intention, the spell has already worked. But then people sometimes get a little stressed out because they're like, I can still see the words. So did it really release? So I recommend like pencil, light pen that we know is non-permanent. This tends to be a little bit more of a gentle release than fire. So it's up to you. Do you want a more gentle release or a stronger release? You can do smoke cleansing of your aura. Your auric field can pick up, like we're talking about, stuck and stagnant energy can get caught there, or you can, if you're emotionally sensitive to energy, or I should say energetically sensitive to people's emotions, you may also be picking up other people's stuff. So when you do a smoke cleansing of your aura, you will help to clear some of that. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I've got like terrible allergies. And I just cleaned in here earlier. Do an energetic cord cutting. That can be another thing. Sometimes people think cord cuttings are just about cutting people out of their lives, but cord cuttings can also be cutting out energy. And I'm just cutting out stuck and stagnant energy, or I'm cutting out fear, or I'm cutting out anger or something like that that I want to release around a certain thing. And then you can also take a ritual salt bath or a cleansing shower. Imagine washing the negative energy or emotions away. Or you can discharge energy into the earth. Stomping, go outside and stomp. Or just imagine the energy just that you want to purge. Like I like to like inhale and I draw energy in from the earth, and then exhale and imagine letting go of energy you want to like dispel, and just trust the earth is completely capable of recycling your energy in a way that you are not. And so the earth, you don't have to worry about hurting the earth is what I'm saying with your energy. Just all of your negative energy can just be released into the earth. But I think, so what I do typically is I will set an intention for the cycle. I'm doing my daily practices. And then on the dark moon or near the dark moon, I would do my main shadow work and then immediately would do like my releasing. Number 5, step 5. So do regular energy work. So your daily spiritual practice may not necessarily be about energy work. So you could be like pulling a card or lighting a candle. But I also believe that we should be doing regular energy work as well. And so regular energy work complements our shadow work, and it will help you accelerate the process. So again, I think this is the component that's missing from a lot of what people teach about shadow work. During your shadow work, we might bring up issues in the emotional and the mental bodies, and we may work through them there, and they can leave imprints in the energetic body. Like I had mentioned earlier, the regular energy work as well as that kind of releasing ritual will help you move that stuck and stagnant energy. Regular energy work can be used to help you clear old patterns in the mind and the body so you don't get like stuck in those. It can help you strengthen your nervous system. So it's going to have a lot of benefits for you that are not just about the shadow work, but you will feel like you are swayed less by outside forces. So in America, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. And sometimes people stress out about being around the family and different things like that. And I feel like energy work can really anchor you and ground you, and you're just going to be less swayed by those people around you. So I recommend committing to energy work at least once a week, and consider adding it to your daily practice. So if your daily or almost daily practice was breath work, you're already doing the energy work. But let's say your daily practice was didn't really have much energy work in it, then I would recommend doing some kind, take one day a week and really commit to doing something with your energy. So here are some ideas. You can do some energetic breath work, both activating and calming. So activating breath, like breath of fire or panting breath, is very good for clearing stuck and stagnant energy. It helps to purify the mind. Breath of fire is very easy breath. You ideally breathe in and out through the nose, And it is a staccato exhale and a passive inhale. It's very easy. So you can kind of think there's two kind of ways to start it. Like you could actually start it with a panting breath, and then you'll kind of see the panting breath. So panting breath, you just pant like it sounds. You pant like a dog. And when you pant like that, if you put your hand on your belly, you'll feel your belly kind of moving up and down. That is the same mechanism of breath of fire. And then you just close your mouth. And you can have your hand on your belly, so you can still feel that pumping of the belly, but you're breathing in and out through your nose. And you can go very slow with this. A mistake that beginners will often make is they try to go too fast and they feel like they're hyperventilating because the inhale is passive in between each of the little exhales. So you just go really slow in the beginning. But this is an incredibly cleansing breath. If you are like, let's say you've got like, you're ruminating on something in your mind, do like a minute or two of breath of fire and see how you feel. It will probably change your outlook at least a little bit. As far as a calming breath goes, the 4-8 breath is really nice. This is where you inhale for a count of 4 and you exhale for a count of 8. If you have an extended exhale, this calms your nervous system. So, I would use activating breath if I was feeling tired, or if I want to like purify something. I want to maybe I've got negative thoughts, I just want to purify. I would do activating breath. Or I want to move stuck and stagnant energy. I might do calming breath if I feel like I'm too activated and I want to calm down. Like somebody says something mean to you at the dinner table at Thanksgiving and you go in the bathroom and do some calming breath. The sipping breath, also called Satali Pranayam, is also a very good breath to calm you down. It's good for hot emotions like anger, especially. If you can curl your tongue, you curl your tongue and then you just inhale through the curled tongue. If you can't curl your tongue, then you just imagine like you're sipping breath in through a straw. And I like to do that for so what I will usually do is I will usually count. Like you could do a sipping breath for a count, inhale for a count of 4 and exhale for a count of 8 or something like that. Or you can just inhale to the top of the breath and then exhale. So next idea, Kundalini energy exercises. So there is the spinal twist and the breath of joy, and I'm just going to demonstrate both of them really quick. If you've never seen them before, try this for a couple of minutes, and I promise you, you're probably going to feel some big energy changes and shifts in your body. So with the spinal twist, you put your hands on your shoulders like this, and you inhale as you twist slightly to the left, and you exhale as you twist slightly to the right. Ideally breathing in and out through the nose, but if the nose is ever clogged up due to allergies or anything, you just breathe in and out through the mouth. Now again, like the breath of fire, it's really about the rhythm and not the speed. So a mistake that a lot of people make is they're going too fast and they have trouble keeping up. So you slow it down when you're first beginning. I would do an exercise like that for about a minute to start, working up to about 3 minutes, and see how you feel after that. With the breath of joy, I hope I can show it on the small little screen here. What you do is you inhale. So it's going to be a 4-part, a 3-part inhale and then an exhale. So you inhale your arms, you inhale a third of the way, and you bring your arms in front of you. You inhale the next third of the way, and you bring them out to the sides. You inhale the final third of the way, so up to the top of your breath, you bring your hands up to the sky. And then as you exhale, you kind of, I exhale kind of forcefully out through the mouth. And then you sweep your arms behind you, and you can imagine kind of pushing the things behind you that you want to let go of. So it looks like. And you can do that breath again, like you start for about a minute, and you can do it, build up to like 3 minutes. And right there, that could be the start of like somebody's little daily practice too. Or add that into a practice that you already have. But if you can do that, like at least once a week, you're going to start to feel like you really are moving energy that's otherwise getting stuck in your body. You can also do chakra balancing through visualization, kind of visualizing your chakras, noticing if there are any like darkness or tears or things around them, and visualizing them being cleared of the negative energy. Seed sounds are, like I mentioned earlier, they're syllables that are connected to energetic changes. They are found in the Sanskrit language because Sanskrit is a vibrational language, and there are different seed sounds for all different kinds of energy, including the 7 chakras. So I recommend looking into that. Our Shadow Seekers membership, we have videos on like almost all of this in our Shadow Seekers membership. But if you're not in the membership, you can, and you feel like kind of it piques your interest, I recommend like Googling seed sounds for the chakras. You can also do chakra balancing yoga, which tends to look different than regular yoga because it's designed specifically to balance chakras. Intuitive movement, this can also be part of a daily practice. But this is really where you just let your body lead you, let it move in the way it needs to move. And sometimes it will actually dislodge stuck energy on its own that's been sitting there for some time. EFT energetic tapping is a special practice where you tap on certain parts of the body while you make statements about things that you're letting go of or beliefs that you're trying to bring in. So that's another idea. That could be a whole workshop on its own. And in fact, in Shadow Seekers, we have a whole workshop on just that. You can also use mantras and mudras. So one mantra I want to give you is Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. This is the Ganesha mudra. It's the mudra of removing obstacles. So you could chant Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Chant that several times. And you can use the Ganesha mudra, which is where you take your right hand and your left hand, and you kind of bring basically the palm of each together, and then you're going to sort of like lock your fingers like this, and then the mudra is where you're pulling them, trying to pull them apart. So it's very, very strong mudra. So again, it looks like this. So you just kind of bring the hands together and kind of like you're trying to rip your hands apart. And so you can chant the mantra Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha while you chant the mantra. So on one hand, it's like an invocation, I should say an evocation to Ganesha. So it brings in the god of removing obstacles, which is also a great god for like root chakra work. But it's also like if you don't work with the deity or you don't work with deities at all, you can also think of this as just bringing in the energy of removing obstacles. So even if you do if all you do is 5 minutes of energy work once or twice a week, I believe that you will dramatically start to see your energy shift. Okay, so that is step 5. Step 6 is a little bit shorter. This is just living within the cycles of the season. So your energy is not the same on every day of the month. It's not the same during every part of the wheel. And people who harmonize themselves with the cycles don't have to force their shadow work. The universe provides the rhythm. So, to me, it's like once you get this process sort of set up, and you're doing kind of an almost daily spiritual practice, you're doing some shadow work once a month with some releasing. Once a week, maybe you're doing a little bit of energy work, and you're starting to live within the cycles. You're just going to find that you don't have to force the work anymore. It's just naturally you're living in the rhythm, and the work will come up when it's meant to come up. The shadow work becomes easier when you can understand kind of the rhythms of the cycles. So the full moon can heighten your emotions and can illuminate truths. So the full moon can be a good time for shadow work, especially if there's hidden things. They can be drawn out. But it's also important to remember it will heighten your emotions. You may feel more emotional at that time. The waning moon is good for supporting release and introspection. The dark moon invites surrender and silent reflection. The new moon is ideal for intention setting. That's why I like to set my intentions at the start of every cycle. And the wheel of the year will create cycles of death, rebirth, growth, and harvest. So knowing where you are in the lunar cycle, as well as knowing where you are in the solar cycle, just helps you to feel like you're living within those cycles. So I recommend keeping a moon cycle journal for 3 cycles and track the ebb and flow of your energy. So you would just look, find a moon cycle calendar, or just Google, what, I shouldn't say sign, but what moon phase, I should say phase, what moon phase are we in right now? You just Google that. And be careful about AI overview because it gets that wrong sometimes. So look for a website or something and find out what phase it is. Write that down in your journal, and then just write a couple of words about how you're feeling energetically and emotionally, mentally and physically. Track that for about 3 cycles, and you'll start to see the ebb and flow of your own energy, and that can be really eye-opening. You may find that your energy sort of flows and ebbs with the natural lunar cycle, or maybe it doesn't. And that is important information too to know. There's nothing wrong with it if it doesn't. Mine doesn't sometimes. But it's important to know your own energy by tracking it. This will help you live within the cycles. And then I think that this is like the icing on the top of the cake. This is the thing to just sprinkle in, is just spiritualizing your overall life. So these are going to be small and simple touches that you add to your everyday life that can make a big difference. So shadow work is more effective when people feel connected to themselves and to the world around them. And so I think that through spiritualizing our life, that is where we're going to start to feel connected in a way, in a very subtle way. So a lot of this other stuff we're doing is very intentional. This is just something we weave into our, our everyday life. When the spiritual is woven into your everyday life, shadow work becomes less overwhelming because you feel supported. So ideas to spiritualize your life. So unlike the daily practice, which is something intentional that you're doing every day, these are just things that you can, bring in, like a daily gratitude practice. So when you first open your eyes in the morning, list 3 things in your mind you're feeling grateful for before you get out of bed. It's so simple and so easy. It takes so little time, and yet it can have a tremendous effect on you. Bless a glass of water in the morning and drink it. Add a little bit of lemon to that, and that will help to stimulate your digestion, is what we say in Ayurveda, which can make all the difference in the world. Bless your food before you eat it. I like to rub my nail beds together. This is actually very effective at generating energy. If you do this for about 30 seconds, you will really start to, once this is done, if you're doing this with me, you'll notice it. But you do this for about 30 seconds. And then you would place it over your food and then just direct that energy into your food with an intention, and bless it, and then eat it, and that can make a big difference. And just in how you kind of spiritualize your life. Eating in season, just, we are so disconnected from the seasons and the way that we eat food that's shipped from so far away and is out of season in the places that we live. It's impossible to get away from this completely, but you can try to anchor yourself by buying foods like produce that's on sale. Tends to be produce that is seasonal. Produce that is local, obviously, is produce that is seasonal. So just trying to eat a little bit more in season can be a good way to spiritualize your life. You don't have to do all of these. I would just suggest picking something, sprinkle it throughout your day. Use essential oils or incense to shift your energy and or your emotions, and use color magic in your home and your workspace. And this just can be a nice way to kind of anchor you, and it helps with the harder work that you are doing when you feel more grounded, more connected, and more in touch with the universe around you. Angela says she has a chart on her wall that has all of the symbols, information of the chakras, which is great, because it's all, there's so much information about them. So it's always good to be able to go back and, check out the information, remind ourselves about it. Tom said, I've definitely been feeling my energy cycle with the moon. Yeah, so track your cycle for a couple of cycles, or track your energy for a couple of cycles rather, and you'll be able to see if your energy flows and ebbs with the moon, like Tom. Cheryl said, every day I bless the food and the cooking and protection over my stove. Yeah, so like kitchen witches just do that naturally as part of their practice. But even if a person has never done that before, try it. It's like, it's so simple, but it makes such a big difference. And then that brings us to step 8. Now, this is an optional step because some people don't work with deities, but if you do work with deities, you can use deities to support your work. So you don't need a deity to do shadow work by any means, but if you feel called to work with them, it can be an incredibly powerful experience. Shadow work deities can help us illuminate blind spots that we're not seeing. They can help us break patterns and guide us deeper into the truths. So you can work with the actual deities, or you can work with their archetypal energies. So for example, Pachamama, she is an Incan goddess of the earth, or you can work with the earth mother archetype. Other earth deities like Demeter. There's many different earth deities that we have across many different pantheons, or you may feel more comfortable working with the archetype of those deities. Some deities that are particularly aligned to shadow work are Kali, as we see here in this picture, Persephone, Lilith, Hecate, the Morrigan, Chiron, Odin, Hades, Baba Yaga. These are all deities that we have worked with in Shadow Seekers or plan to work with. But the list is not limited to just those. Any deity that you work with could be a deity to support your shadow work. There are just some that align differently with it than others. Tends to be deities who are connected to the underworld. Will often be good choices in shadow work. Ones like Persephone that have like that story of going into the underworld and coming back out. Here we see Kali, one of my personal favorite deities for shadow work. She can be scary sometimes because of the skull necklace she wears. And like here we see her like stepping on top of Shiva. This comes from a story where she was raging one day and he laid down in front of her because he was afraid she was going to destroy the world. And so the picture reminds us that like there's time for rage, but there's also time for calm. The other thing that Kali to me reminds us of is that like the things that she destroys, the heads, the severed heads that she's carrying, sometimes she's got a bowl of blood. All of this is about destroying the ego. It's about destroying the parts of us that are not real, that are illusions. So that the true self can be revealed. So she's not a scary deity. But sometimes people like who've never worked with deities like this are a little uncertain, unsure. But many people have worked with Kali and some of these other darker deities find that they are very, very compassionate deities. So again, this is an optional step for you, not necessary, but it can definitely help to complement your work. Helen said, where can I find a list of these deities? Well, there's this list here, but you can also, if you just Google deities for the dark, or deities for the dark moon or deities for shadow work, you'll find some information on our Body, Mind, Witchcraft YouTube channel as well. If you go to that, and there are some playlists. There's a playlist on deities, and if you go in there, you will find multiple episodes on dark moon and shadow work deities. I have 2 episodes on goddesses and 2 episodes on gods. Or you can just go to our channel and just search gods and goddesses. You'll find it, or just scroll through our episodes. But there are 4 different episodes on those. Samantha said, I have designed a lunar calendar that is very helpful in attuning to the lunar cycle, available free to anyone who contacts me on Facebook. Okay, that is great. Yeah. So if anybody wants that. Angela said, I don't work with deities, but I've really been interested in the archetype for Lilith. And again, so you can work with the archetypes if you feel like deities are not something that you work with. You can always work with those archetypal energies. Okay, spontaneous shadow work session. So I did want to mention this here. If you practice shadow work and energy work regularly or cyclically, eventually you will start having spontaneous shadow work sessions. So this will come from, I don't know, you might do shadow work for a little bit and you'll start having these. For me, it just became part of like, because I was always doing the cyclical work, I just would, when it was time for things to be revealed, whether that was like during a session or not, they would just be revealed. So the spontaneous session is where you may begin to process or experience an issue in your life in a different way. Whoops. Sometimes this will feel like an aha moment, and you may receive sudden insight. Afterwards, you may feel like a great amount of work was done, even though the session itself or the time period it was going on only lasted a few minutes. And you may feel that something that's been an issue for you for a long time has all of a sudden been resolved. What I recommend is, until you get to that place where it's just you're spontaneously doing shadow work, I would just recommend following the step-by-step framework, but just know that this is an end result, or it's part of the process as this just starts happening to you. Like I said, I was standing in front of the mirror the other day, and all of a sudden I had this like it just hit me, this mother work and this mother wound that I have, and issues surrounding it that I didn't even realize. It just sort of hit me, and I was like, oh, okay, that helps to explain a lot. And now I know I have another direction for my shadow work, but that just came out of nowhere because of all the other work that I've been doing. So if you're not experiencing that, I would recommend try the framework. Over time, I think you will also start to experience that. So putting it all together, step one, set your intention for your shadow work. Remember that this intention can change. You can set one every lunar cycle, and that can be the intention for the cycle, or you can set one for the season if you would like. And just know, be open, because that can change and shift over time. But that will at least help direct your work and help you feel like you're not floundering in all the chaos and the loose ends of everything. Create a daily or almost daily spiritual practice to help you, feel anchored and connected, and it will help make the harder work easier. Choose one day per lunar cycle for your deeper shadow work, and you've got some ideas on how to do that now, maybe with prompts, maybe with journaling, maybe taking a shadow walk and contemplating, maybe doing some shadow art. Step 4, follow your main shadow work with a releasing ritual of some kind. You can burn something and release it. You can bury it. You can do a cord cutting, an energetic cleansing. Do regular energy work just to keep your energy moving, so we don't get stuff built up, stuck and stagnant in the body, even though we're releasing the mental and the emotional stuff. Live within the cycles. Again, that will help you stay grounded in this harder work. Spiritualize your life. That's like the icing or the sprinkles on the icing. That just helps to permeate your life with spirituality. And then, of course, working with shadow deities if you would like. So that brings me to a final step, is to seek support when you feel it's needed. You can always do the work alone, but you don't have to. I learned how to do all of this on my own, but believe me, it wasn't an easy process. Shadow work can be deep and emotional, and when we're doing really deep work, we need structure, which is why I set up this framework, so at least you feel like you have some steps to follow. That's important, so you don't feel like you're floundering or you're just dabbling in the work. But studies also show that people are going to be better at implementing things when they have the structure, and also when they have some support. So some people will work with a therapist or a spiritual mentor while doing this kind of work. It can be expensive. Some of the therapists don't know how to do shadow work. Personally, my therapist that I've had for years, she doesn't know how to do this, but she's good to like talk to when the stuff comes up. I like to talk to her about things that are coming up for me. Spiritual mentors who specialize in this are probably a better bet. The people like that can help you stay accountable, having someone guide you and prevent you with kind of from falling into the now what freeze, like you just don't know what to do, and that person can help get you unstuck. But community can also be key when it comes to nurturing and supporting your progress. So if you've got a lot of friends who are also doing this work, that can be good. If you don't, you may be interested in a more supporting group. And so if you want a supportive structure for all of this, that is where Shadow Seekers comes in. So I told you I would tell you a little bit about our group. We have a great Black Friday offer right now. It's worth sticking around for the next 10 minutes just to hear it. And I'm just going to tell you all about our group. And then after that, for those who are live, we'll have a Q&A, and you can ask me anything that you want about anything. So what comes next? So if you'd like to dive more deeply into the work, I invite you to join my Shadow Work Energy Work membership, Shadow Seekers. We've been around for 3 years now, and we open up our doors a couple of times a year, though we are about to change the way we're doing this, and this is why tonight and the next 7 days when this membership is open, this is very important for anybody, especially who's been thinking about joining something like this, because we are going to change a lot about how we enroll people in the future. But our doors are going to be open here until Thursday, December 4th, so for a week at midnight. We have a limited number of spots, and they usually fill up for us, so I recommend, like, if you're interested, to join sooner than later. But if you feel like you want to do some shadow work in a small group setting with a guide, I encourage you to join us. This is our Shadow Seekers membership. It's designed to help witches, empaths, and spiritually minded people do shadow work and energy work. So basically the stuff that we just talked about in this kind of mini masterclass is what we do inside of the membership. And on top of that, I'm about to make a mini course of this, turning this basically hour-long workshop or hour and 15-minute workshop into a mini course that takes people step by step and gives them stuff to do every single month. So what's included in our membership? So each month we have a live workshop on Zoom. These are just some of the topics that we have done in past workshops. By the way, all of these replays are available in our membership portal. So if you miss a live workshop, you can always go back and watch it later. And you also, if you join now, you'll have access to all of the workshops in the past as well. We tend to do different workshops on different kind of shadow work topics, some inner child work we like to do. We do workshops on all of the chakras. If you want to really balance your chakras, we explore the mother wound, the father wound, the witch wound, all of this. Each month there's also a live ritual. And so those rituals could be dark moons, they could be new moons, they could be full moons. It all kind of depends on the intention, or it could be a Sabbath. These are just some of the rituals that we have done in the past. And if anybody's wondering too about, like I talked about doing a releasing ritual once a month. We have a couple of kind of general releasing rituals that we did last year and the year before, and those are all in the portal too. So those are, like, I like to direct people to those. If you just want to do a general releasing ritual for the dark moon, you basically have access to all this stuff, so you never have to wonder what to do. We also have a third monthly Zoom call, which is office hours, and this has like no structure. People just show up and they bring what they're working on. They can share their successes, they can share their struggles, they can just sit and just be present. Sometimes people just like to sit for the hour and a half and just be around people, and they don't even talk or do anything. But that is, to me, I've been in memberships where I've done that too, and that can be as rewarding as anything. So it's just whatever you make of it, whatever you need, that's what this can provide for you. We also have then a whole other set of things in the membership, which are alignment practices, yoga, yin yoga, breath work. So like all these practices we talked about, if you're wondering like, well, how would I do that? It's all in the membership. We have all of this. You just need to follow the structure and then find the resources in the membership portal. Will help direct you to those, and you can implement this all with support. We also have live yoga and Kundalini and breathwork classes weekly, which you can attend live or you can watch those replays. And it's just jam-packed with a ton of stuff. You get all of the lives, so all of the lives of that month and future months, plus at least 12 months of replays. So we have about 12 months of ritual replays, but we have more than that of the workshops. I believe there's like, I can't even tell you how much hours of content there is. There's a lot, and it's just, you never have to worry about what to do because there's always plenty to do. So coming up in December, we have a mixer. So about 3 or 4 times a year, or maybe like 2 or 3 times a year. We like to just do a mixer, so we're just going to have a party next Friday on Zoom, and anybody who's in the membership can show up to that. We're going to play some witchy games and win prizes. And we send out like witchy boxes to people who win the prizes, or tarot decks or oracle decks. So that's just a lot of fun, and that's coming up next Friday. We have a workshop. This month we're studying the third eye and intuition. So we're going to do a workshop on the shadow side of the third eye. And then we have a Yule ritual, where we're actually going to be working with Odin and Frigga. And we're going to be exploring the story of the Holly King and the Oak King. And that's coming up on Saturday, the 20th. And then we have our office hours. Our office hours are kind of December, January because of the holidays, but we'll have office hours on January 3rd. So that's kind of a snapshot of what you would get if you join for this first month. So we do have some future topics coming up in 2026. We do some astrology as well. So our next astrology class is in January. It's finding joy through the part of fortune. This helps us direct our life in the places that are most meaningful. So there's an aspect of your chart that actually tell you what you can do to find the most joy. And so we're going to explore that, because we don't want to always just be exploring the deep shadow work. We like to do things that uplift us as well. In February, the membership I put out a survey and asked the current members what they most were interested in learning about. And this was the #1 topic people said they wanted to learn. So we're going to do a workshop on connecting to your higher self and your spiritual guides. Strengthening your intuition. So these are other topics that will be coming later in 2026. We're going to work on self-belief, self-love, and self-acceptance, talking about soul contracts. Why are you here? What were the deals you made before you incarnated? We're going to do some past life regression, which we do that every year. So we already have some past life regression replays, but we'll be doing more of that. Meditation techniques for witches, mudras for meditation, energy work, and magic. Those are the hand gestures that can help to change your energy. We'll be learning more about that and more. So this is just kind of 2026 coming. So I'm just going to go very quickly through this, but I think it's important if you were deciding to work with us and join the group, I think it's important you know a little bit about me. So I found the path. I believe that we're probably all born witches who come to this path, but that we I was born I was born into a Christian family, and so I had to find my way to the path. So in 1997, I dedicated myself to the goddess on Litha Morning. I was in the Boston Pagan Alliance in 2000, back in Boston when I lived there. But then eventually I moved to LA to pursue music in 2004, and I kind of dabbled in all different kinds of traditions while I was here, Western mystery traditions, different occult groups, OTO, Cor Lucius, Builders of the Adytum. But eventually I came back to Wicca in 2008. I joined the Coven of Twilight Moon. And then in 2011, I reached the 3rd degree in that tradition, and I became a high priestess in 2012 of my own coven. In 2015, I then founded my own tradition, the Midnight Tradition, which blends Eastern and Western practices together, and I became a high priestess of the Coven of Midnight's Flame. And then these are just some of my degrees and certifications. I do have a degree in music, which means I like to bring music into our rituals at times. I have the degree in counseling psychology, and I'm a 500-hour registered yoga teacher and a trained doula and an educational therapist and teacher. So I come with credentials that back up the stuff that I teach. I've been doing my own shadow work for many years. I began doing this intensively about 5 years ago after I had an ectopic pregnancy that almost killed me. And I did come out of the surgery and all the blood transfusions. My body needed a lot of healing. I was able to heal pretty quickly in my body, but the mental part didn't come so easily, and the emotional part, and that's when I really started diving into shadow work. So I can't even tell you enough, like, if I didn't have this framework that I gave you, if I didn't have this, I don't know where I would be. I certainly wouldn't be here teaching classes and running a membership and all of this. I'd be on the floor crying. But this shadow work and these alignment practices that I teach in this membership are the very ones that got me through that dark night of my own soul. So I just think it's a little it's important for you to know about the people that you are potentially going to work with. So if you decide to join us, here's just kind of a little infographic of the stuff that you will get: the monthly live Zooms, access to all the replays, a private Facebook group, live workshops, shadowwork prompts, and exercises is just a bit of what you get. Your membership includes the live monthly workshops and rituals, alignment practices. We have like what I call the toolbox, which is like all the practices that you can go to if you want to do this, if you want to do some of this work. We have the office hours. We have a private members only Facebook group, which to many of the people who are in the membership, that's one of the best parts. When I survey people and I ask them what they like the most about the membership, they talk most about the community and the structure, but most about the community, having the support. We have accountability partners and groups, part of the program that you can do. It's optional, you don't have to, but you can sign up to be paired with a partner or a small group to just help keep you accountable. Complimentary tickets to all of the Coven of Midnight's Flame online Sabbath rituals. So if you're somebody who's been coming to our Sabbats and paying for those, you get all of that free if you join the membership. Weekly shadow work prompts and exercises, access to the past membership, replays in the membership portal, monthly membership challenges. So this is right now, it's been more like every other month, but we do an exercise that you have the month to complete. It helps to like have you to have something to do that will kind of align with the material we're studying. And then there's one person whose name is drawn from a drawing and they win a prize. So it's kind of a nice incentive to not only help yourself by doing the work, but also maybe win something. And you also, this is a big one, is you get 33% off of our Demystifying Witchcraft course, which is my signature course on witchcraft. And all future courses that I make, people in the membership get 33% off of all of those. So these are a few testimonials. In just a moment, I will give you a link to the website, but you can read these. They're also on our website. There's also other ones. This is what some of our members have said about me or the membership in the past. So if you're interested, you can read some of those. So I think, before we talk about the price and finish up here, I think it's important to kind of reiterate what are the benefits of this kind of work. You can recover from your trauma, feel less alone. I do believe that you will develop a deeper trust in yourself and your intuition when you do this work regularly and seriously. You can enhance your magical abilities, feel more wholeness and peace, maximize the powers of self-healing and healing of others. Many of the people who I work with in the membership are healers themselves, and through doing their own healing work, it makes them more effective at healing. Integrate all aspects of the self, healing your emotional wounds, understanding underlying emotions and motivations, improving relationships with yourself and others. This is a big one, not being as affected by others' negativity and energy. Up-level your spiritual practice and alchemize your spirit. I do believe this is work that we all must do at some point. We may not call it shadow work, but at some point we are meant to evolve here as people. And through that evolution, we learn why we are here, what are the lessons of life, what did we come to this incarnation for. This is how we up-level. This is how we alchemize the spirit. Anybody who's drawn into these spiritual circles, you have this somewhere written into your soul contract to do some kind of work like this. Doesn't mean that necessarily has to be shadow work or in a group or anything like that, but you are here to transform something about your life. So let's talk about what people might be wondering. How much does it cost? Some of you may already know what it costs, and the price has not gone up. This is the final round. It will not go up. But I have done a lot of research, and the people who are out there teaching the same thing, they're teaching it for about $100 a month. I've seen someone doing it for $77 a month. These groups don't even look like they give as much as I do. But our membership is $37 a month. And it's about a third of what most people charge for this work. And just think about all the things that you would get the structure, the support, the community, the guidance. You never have to wonder. You have a supported container for just about $1 a day. People spend $5, $6 on Starbucks a day, and it doesn't get you as far as shadow work and a membership like this will. So this round, though, it's Black Friday, and we always do something good for Black Friday to encourage new people to join us. You can join us absolutely free for 30 days. And what that does is it gives you a chance to come in, spend December with us, and see if it's the right fit for you. And if it's not the right fit for you, then you can always cancel. This is the absolute last time to join at this price. I'm increasing the membership in price in 2026. I really don't have any choice. I don't know what exactly that means, but we are increasing the price by at least 40%. I don't know that we're necessarily doubling it, but it's going to go up substantially. So if you've been on the fence about joining in the past, now's the time. If it's not for you, all you got to do is cancel before the free trial is over. We're very easygoing. You can cancel yourself inside the membership, or you can write to me if you can't figure out how to do it. When you join today, you'll have immediate access to everything. It's not dripped. You don't have to your free trial is the entire membership. It's not just a part of it, it's everything. This is at least 12 months of workshops, rituals, office hours, replays, plus all of the alignment practices. You can dive in, see what's there. You can browse through them, watch what you're called to in any order as you wait for our next live event. But I did this last Black Friday. I'm going to do it this Black Friday. For those of you who are actually on the call with us live right now, or who watch this back in the next 36 hours, we will give you a chance to join, secure your spot before the doors open. So Friday morning, I send out this offer to everyone on my 4,000 person mailing list, everyone there's 3,500 people in the Facebook group. I send this offer out to everybody. But we will give you a chance to secure your spot early, and we're going to throw in a second month for free, which is what we did last year. So this means 60 days for free, 2 months for free to try it out, see if it's the right fit for you. And then you also, because if you join right now, we actually have an event on Saturday, which is our first, it's our office hours for November, and you would be able to come to that as well. But you want to not wait too long, because at 7 a.m., it's going to change and you'll only get the 1 month. It's still a good offer, 30 days free to try the membership out. It's still a great offer, but who can doubt that 2 months is even better, right? But that goes away Friday morning. The second month goes away Friday morning. So if you already know you want to join, don't wait around. Don't do what I do. I'm always the last minute buyer. Don't be that person who then kicks themselves later when they realize they could have gotten more. So if you are ready to take your spiritual practice to the next level and heal yourself through shadow work and energy work, now is the time to join us. You will get a 30 or a 60-day trial of all that's available in the membership, all the workshops, the rituals, alignment practices, and more. Try it out and see if it's a good fit for you. If not, you'll just cancel before the trial period is over. It's just as simple as that. And on top of that, join us in the next 36 hours and you will get the second month for free. After the free trial, if you choose to continue, your monthly membership will be $37 a month. It's locked in as long as you stay a member. So even when the price changes in 2026, it goes up at least 40% per month. Like I said, I'm not sure I'm totally doubling it and putting it up to 70 something, but it's going up quite a bit, at least 40%. Your price will not change. The $37 is locked in. You get everything in the membership. So do not kick yourself in 2026. Believe me, I've done this kind of stuff. I lollygagged around and waited, and then I watched things like this increase in price, and I was like, why didn't I just join it when it was less? So don't kick yourself in 2026 when you finally realize it's time and you realize the price has substantially increased. Join now. There is no better time than now to join. What are you waiting for? Would you not like to heal your emotional wounds and trauma, develop deeper trust in your intuition, enhance your magical abilities, feel more wholeness and peace, maximize powers of self-healing and the healing of others, not be as affected by others' negativity and energy, and up-level your spiritual practice, alchemize your spirit, so you can join us in Shadow Seekers, and we would love to welcome you as the newest member. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop into the chat for those who are with us live. I'm going to drop the link to this website here. Let me go ahead and just stop this. So this is our website. You can go and you can read the website, and you'll learn more about the membership. If you have any questions about it, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer anything, or you can ask them in the chat. I'm going to go into the chat now and see what is here. And then I'm going to stop the recording in just a few minutes, and then we'll open it up for anybody who's live, any questions that you might want to ask. So I'm just going back into the chat to see I haven't missed anything. Tom said, what do deities gain by working with us in this? I'd worry about disrespecting them accidentally. So I don't think that, I'm not sure Tom is still here, but for anybody who does wonder about that question, I think that when we approach deities with great respect, we don't have to worry about offending them. And I don't think that, I mean, deities, when it comes to like what do deities gain, deities do not necessarily work that way looking for gain, but what they do gain is anybody who works with them is like an adherent of theirs or someone who honors and reveres them. There's an energetic exchange that happens that benefits them as well as us. But I do not believe that, I've never really heard of a deity who felt disrespected when a person brought their problems to them or wanted to work with them. So I don't think you have to worry about that. Angela said, do you think shadow work would be okay for someone with PTSD? I would say that a lot of people these days who come to shadow work have PTSD. I think that when it comes to PTSD, I think that people have to be kind of self-aware of where your levels of comfort are and discomfort are. If you are in a state where you're very emotionally dysregulated, the shadow work may be intense at this time. This is why I do recommend, like, somebody who has PTSD or anticipates some things coming up for them that might be more than they can handle. I recommend that they do have a therapist kind of on call, at least, so that they can talk to that person. But I think that many people with PTSD do shadow work, and it can be best complemented with a therapist if yours is at like a really, really high level. But again, I think that somebody who's like in a very dysregulated emotional state probably wants to do some grounding work, some energetic work, and really find some centering. And then at that point, the shadow work will be much better. I do think that my 8-step process, where we're not just throwing people into the shadow work, we're doing more than just that. I think that helps to ease some of the difficulty of the work, which will also help people with PTSD. Andrea said she uses the Llewellyn's Magical Almanac for the year for the lunar cycles. That's a good resource. You can purchase that every year, and then it's just all in one place. It will tell you what the lunar cycles are. Jen said she's so excited for the upcoming workshops. Yeah, I am too. Andrea said, I believe alongside what you do already, shadow work is great. You'll find that many of us that do, she's talking about the PTS, many of us that do the shadow work do so because we suffer from PTSD. I agree. I would say that a lot of the people in our membership also probably suffer from PTSD. Cheryl said, I have PTSD also. So far, it's helped me with some severe trauma. This time of year is rough for me. Shadow work has helped me with finding some kind of common, some kind of comfort during the holidays. Yeah, this can be a very hard time of the year for people. So the shadow work and community support can be very helpful. Jason and Tabitha said they both joined, and it's been amazing. So yeah, so we have some members here and then other people that are newer to my sphere. And Helen said, can you recommend someone who helps with birth charts? As far as doing like one-on-one work with it, I'm not sure. We do in the Shadow Seekers membership, we do have like a 2 to 2.5 hour course on birth charts. It's not one-on-one work, so it won't like, it's not like you have someone sitting there interpreting yours, but you do learn a ton about your birth chart through that class. Samantha said, I'd like to join the group. Being a double amputee, I can't get out much to local groups and need online groups. And that is, one of the things that to me, creating all of this, like never, if you had asked me 6 or 7 years ago if I would be doing this, I would tell you no, because I did everything in person. My coven met in person. We had rituals. Everything was in person. I never wanted to do anything online. The pandemic changed everything for us. We were forced to go online, and so we adapted. I started doing all my coven teaching online, and then it came to me like, why don't I take this to more people? Because we have many members who live in far places in the United States. We actually have some members in Europe. We have some members in Canada. We have members all over, which is so cool that we're able to create this group of people from all over the country. Some of them are in places where they don't have access to local groups, or like Samantha, not being able to meet up with groups for physical reasons. Online groups like this can be so special. And so it really like shifted my ideas about the value of online. Like sometimes people like disregard online work because they're like, oh, you certainly can't do very much online or connect online. Well, the people in our Shadow Seekers membership will beg to differ on that one. The support that we have for one another and the connections that people have made in this group are like crazy. Like some people will tell you they're closer to some of these people in in the Shadow Seekers group than they are to like the people they know physically. Cersei asked for the link again. Here's the link. And then anybody who's watching this back later, if you're watching on YouTube, the link is below in the comments. And if this was mailed to you, the link will be in the email that it's been mailed to you. Okay, so I'm going to end this recording right now. Anybody who's with us, though, stick around if you'd like to do a little Q&A that would be off the recording. But here's a one final comment that Melly said. Shadow Seekers has helped me a lot. She said, I suffer from depression, grief, PTSD, anxiety, and so on. I feel that shadow work helps everyone at all levels, and just being open to heal yourself and have a great new witch family to help you. She said, I know they help me get counseling and heal spiritually, and so worth it. It is. Like she talks about like the family, the people in the Shadow Seekers membership, we call each other a family because we're that close to each other. So the group is not super huge. It's not like there's like 3,000 people in it. And so it's small enough that it allows us to create those connections. So hopefully you have enjoyed this class. And if you join us in Shadow Seekers, even better. We'd love to see you. But if anything, I hope this at least helps to get you started on your shadow work journey and give you some clarity and some structure. If you want some support and some community and some continued structure, join us in Shadow Seekers. We've got till next Thursday, the 4th at midnight, and you can try us out for this free trial. And until next time, blessed be.